seat, we'll get started.
He's fabulous. You guys are amazing.
So have a seat, we'll get started here.
And we went over to station.
All right, so format for this evening is going to be pretty simple. We have each candidate, we got 2 candidates. Each candidate is going to get 5 minutes to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about themselves. Then anyone from the public can ask any questions they like. We do have some councilmen here observing, but they won't be asking questions. They have their own opportunity to ask questions. They're just observing how our candidates interact with the public. If there aren't enough questions from the public, then I will subject you to a tedious PowerPoint and make them respond to the PowerPoint. So please do ask questions. All right, can we go ahead and get started? Yes, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Do I have to use the podium or can I talk?
You can talk if you use the microphone so we can actually hear you.
Actually, I'm not sure the mic is working.
It is, but maybe it'll be loud. Let's make it a little louder. Right, want to test for me? Right, working.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Francisco Alaniz, but I go by Frank. It's an honor to be here tonight, and I really appreciate the opportunity to discuss how my education, training, and experience are a good fit for the position of police chief of the town of Superior. A little bit about myself. I have 19 years of law enforcement experience. I've worked for state, county, and city agencies, and I currently hold the rank of lieutenant with the Casa Grande Police Department. Education, Casa Grande Police Department. Yes. I have a bachelor's degree in public safety administration, an associate's degree in administration of justice, and I'm currently working on a master's degree, which I hope to finish by the end of this year. As far as experience, or training, excuse me, that's relevant to the position of police chief, I've completed several executive level courses that are relevant to the position of police chief. They include the International Chiefs of Police Leadership and Police Organization, Northwestern University Police School of Police Staff and Command, and the Hispanic Leadership Institute Leadership Course. Now, what you won't find on my resume is that I'm currently pursuing a seat in the FBI National Academy. I've met with representatives, turning my paperwork, and I am confident I will secure a seat in the 2020 class schedule. In regards to experience, I'll break it down into administrative and operational. Administratively, I have managed and currently co-manage a $50 million operational budget. I am a member of my department's grant writing team. On average, we secure between $500,000 to $1 million in overtime and equipment. I handle procurement. I'm a project manager, and I'm also involved in contracts. And without getting too technical, I handle memorandums of understanding, intergovernmental agreements, and purchasing. I also present department initiatives and programs to council meetings. Operationally, I have stepped in as the acting chief of police on several occasions, and I currently directly and indirectly supervise 124 employees in various areas of the police organization, such as dispatch, records, animal control, evidence, detectives, narcotics, K9, traffic, patrol, and SWAT. Now, that is my experience and my education. A little bit about myself in regards to Superior. I want to switch gears. Now, I am a strong advocate of progressive ideas and continual development. As laws, technologies, and times change, I believe, like every other agency, also the Superior Police Department must also adapt to new law enforcement strategies, policies, and procedures that promote fairness within the community. Now, I know community policing is a big issue with communities across America. The fact is, community engagement is pretty simple. It can be any officer talking to a resident in any street corner, or the upcoming Apache League Mining Festival, setting up a table and just taking a minute or two to talk to the community. Now, in regards to the community, I am a big believer that the police department should be a reflection of the community. In preparation for this process, I was reviewing the town demographics, and I saw a Superior 65 to 69% Hispanic. I'm a first-generation American of Hispanic descent, and I speak Spanish. So you have to forgive me because my Spanish is not the best, but for the Hispanic population, I can say something in Spanish. Mi nombre es Francisco Alaniz, y es un honor estar aquí con ustedes en esta noche. Tengo 19 años de experiencia en la aplicación de la ley. Es un honor estar con ustedes y espero que me puedan pasar su jefe de policía. In closing, I haven't spoken Spanish in a while, so I really enjoy that. So in closing, if I am selected as your police chief, I will introduce programs that will, trying to use the right word there, excuse me. This is actually a big opportunity for me, but if I am selected as chief of police, I will introduce some programs that will further promote Superior's reputation as a safe community, and I will encourage the police department to be a solid foundation to encourage businesses and families to call Superior their home. Thank you.
Can we do questions now, or?
Yes. I got questions and answers, unless you would like to hear from the other candidate first.
Probably better to talk to them directly, so they're in agreement for deputy.
Absolutely, all right.
You said something about the FBI. You're joining the FBI.
Now, the FBI has a National Academy for Police Executives. Because of my current rank, I consider command staff in my department. They offer opportunities for executive staff from police agencies throughout the country to attend the FBI National Academy. It's a 3-month academy where you learn leadership, executive level courses on how to run police departments, how to communicate with other agencies, both state, federal, and local. So it's very selective, very difficult to get into, and it's just a very long process. I'm at the very tail end of it. And like I said, I just went to a meet and greet up in Glendale about 2 weeks ago, and a little bit of FaceTime there, but I've been speaking with FBI representatives for quite some time now. The process consists of resumes, informal boards, just this kind of stuff, talking to people, meeting them, and then if you're selected, you get to go for 3 months. And then you come back and you take that knowledge and share it with your community and your department.
Who's the training at?
It's in Virginia.
So you're going to be gone for 3 months?
If I'm selected, yes.
Who would be taking your place while in your absentee?
There'd have to be an interim police chief during that time.
Agreement that you're a police chief,
Yeah.
or a new police chief.
Right. You know, it's just timing.
Yes,
This is something I've been pursuing for quite some time, and just to get to this point was very difficult because of, I had to have the education for it, first of all. The years of service, and also the positions within my agency. So it's just timing. It's
Right.
timing. But this is something that's very valuable, especially for the city, for the town Superior, that you can bring back these skill set. And it's also good to have a police chief that's recognized as an NA graduate.
Is there an interim, possible interim person that would be interested in the position should you get that?
I'd have to talk to the members of the department. I know right now you currently have an interim, and maybe possibly could be him, if I'm fortunate to be selected as the police chief. But like I said, I haven't sat down and talked to the staff yet, and I have to look at the staff's qualifications and then make that decision, also talk to the town manager.
I'm personally very interested in animal control up here. I heard you have something to do, you have some training in animal control. So.
Yes, so about a month ago, we had one of our lieutenants retire, and I assumed all his responsibilities. So animal control is one of them. So in the last month and a half, give or take, I've been working with animal control. So it's been a learning experience for me. But in that time frame, we've already accomplished quite a bit of things. For example, they were working a 4-10 schedule, so now we got them to a 7-day schedule. We got them updated with our CAD software. We use Tyler, I believe Superior uses Stillman. So it's what the police officers use, the record management system, RMS. So we got them updated with that. I got them moving towards a paperless system, so there's no more records that are kept, so it's easier for public information, requests from citizens. I'm currently working with the Arizona Department of Corrections to bring in inmates, so we can reduce our overtime costs and expand our services. So it's been a really interesting process, also learning about the drugs and how it's controlled with the DEA and euthanization. Now, Casa Grande we would like to be a no-kill shelter, but we're not there yet. So we're working towards that. So I believe Superior, I think it's John, the officer, handles ACO calls. But correct me if I'm wrong, my knowledge is limited. You guys have a contract with Pinal County?
Yes. I'd like to understand better why you want this job. I mean, I understand that a position of chief is a different responsibility. But when I I look at Casa Grande, I look at the resources you're working with now, the number of people you're managing. Some people might think this is a step down. Why do you want to be police chief in a town of 3,000 when you are controlling and managing a greater resource base in Casa Grande?
So I'll answer that question in several steps. First of all, like I was telling the executive board when I came and did my first interview, it's time. It's time for me to move on. I worked very hard just to get here today with my training experience and education. I've put myself in positions of leadership since my entire adult life. Since serving in the Marine Corps, I also served in the Army when 9/11 occurred. I went back, fought in Iraq. I mean, it's just time. I've put myself in these spots on purpose so I can learn as much as I can, and I'm able to have intelligent conversations with citizens and officers, and make the right decisions and the right moves within the organization. But as far as that goes, I know Casa Grande's bigger, and I'm going from 124 where I directly and indirectly supervise to, I believe it's 24 between full-time and reserve. But it's relative. I mean, I have the same issues. I don't have money for a car. I know there's going to be money here for a car, so I have to look for alternate resources and grants. Maybe talking to community members, working with council. Because after all, that's my responsibility to articulate my needs. But I understand where you're coming from. But it is relative. I mean, the same headaches that I have in Casa Grande are relatively the same headaches you're going to have here. It's just on a smaller scale. And I understand what you're saying about lack of resources. Now, as far as a step down, I don't see it as a step down. I see it as a step up. This is an opportunity for me to put my skill set to work and show the community that I can do this and then bring this police department ahead. So that's my goal. I mean, if you ask me what my vision is, it's very simple. I want to be the best police department in Town County. That's just always been, regardless of where I'm at. And from my understanding and the people I've spoken to, you guys have a good police force here. They were a really good police force, so it wouldn't be very hard to move forward. But it is a step up. But there's a lot of risk on my end too. I mean, this isn't something I'm just taking very lightly. It is going to be a pay cut for me. And the lifespan of the police chief nationwide is 3 to 5 years. And yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So that's traditionally, but I mean, some chiefs go longer. And you know, I like to do that chief obviously. But it's not a step down for me. It's not. To me, it's a step up. And I think this would be a great place to do it.
Would you be moving to this community?
So that's something I was going to talk to the town manager about. So currently right now in the state and legislators, they have a bill that's being passed. It talks about towns not enforcing or making it a condition of employment for law enforcement officials and firefighters. Now there are exceptions. The bill hasn't been passed yet, but it will. And it's going to probably fall under the Title 38, which is the Officer Bill of Rights. But the exception more likely is going to be police chiefs or executive staff. So I don't have a problem moving to Superior. It's going to be some time, but my family, I live in Alatuki. I live in Phoenix. My wife's a school nurse there. My kids have gone there since elementary. So I have to talk to my family. It's got to be right. But I do see myself within a year at a minimum renting a room somewhere or having an apartment here so I can spend more time.
What are some examples in Casa Grande that you would consider progressive that happened under your time and tenure?
So about 3 years ago, we were tasked by city staff to cut our budget 5%. We have 80 sworn officers, but that's not enough for the city of Casa Grande. We should be about 124. So we had to find a solution to still field our calls. Casa Grande has about 70,000 people, but we service about 100,000 people a day because of I-10 and I-8. So our call loads are pretty heavy. Any given moment, our squads are big. We'll have maybe 7 or 8 officers plus police, PTO, prisoner transport officer. So they're good squads. We'll have 1 or 2. So with that said, council made it very clear we're not hiring anybody and to find alternatives. Now we cut 5% and I brought in a police aid program. Now police aid are civilians and they resemble a police officer where they wear a uniform that's very similar. We're very aggressive with our police aid where they carry the baton, the taser, and the pepper spray and they have the vest. And that's for their safety, but not all communities do that. We brought the police aid in, we assigned them to, this is the program I put in the paper on, assigned them to patrol. And then we, based upon our intelligence, we figured the best times to work them was between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. So they covered 2 shifts. Monday, right now they're working 7 days a week. They handle our prisoners, they work with patrol. We have them in intelligence. I think Francine was working with Amy, that's one of our police aides, because she's been going on Mondays. We have them in detectives. And the thing is about the police aides is that they can do 80% of a policeman's job. Now, you're not taking away a job from a police officer. That's not what you're doing.
You're sort of increasing your beat ratings.
Right. And some people say, some of the cops who are against it because of culture said, you know, this is a Band-Aid. Well, yeah, maybe, it can be, but it's an effective Band-Aid. You know, and the citizens, the police aides handle all of my calls, the fees, the thefts, they can go to civil standbys. We taught them how to do, just like our park rangers, how to do animal control calls, so we're gonna have to call the animal control off after hours. So it's been a very effective program for us. Now I'm not gonna take all the credit, I didn't invent this program, I just implemented it in Casa Grande.
Right.
So that's
is
one.
that a volunteer program or is
No.
that, it's a paid?
It's a paid position. So we have part-time and full-time.
Because I was going to ask you about that, because
Right.
San Bernardino County has the same thing, they call it citizens on patrol, but
Right.
they're not allowed to carry any weaponry or defense. They're not allowed to be in any dangerous or hazardous situation at all. They direct traffic, they'll attend different things, crowd control, directions, stuff like that, but they're not, and do patrol, actually patrol for vacation, and just things like that. So I was gonna ask you about that.
So, so we do have a volunteer program, and I'll touch upon that here in a minute, because it is relative to the police aid program. So yeah, so we use our police aids for a lot of stuff. So that's one of the, like I said, I'm not gonna take arbitrary credit because this has been done around the country. And in the police world, pretty much everything that can be done has been done. It's just a matter of doing the research, finding it, and then making it work for you and implementing it. So that's one of the things we've done. Yeah. Now regarding volunteers, we do have a citizen on patrol. We have a very big volunteer program. We have about 100 volunteers. Every year we host 3 volunteer academies, and that's where all command staff and every department comes in. We break it up over the course of 12 weeks. It's 1 night a week, and everybody in the department comes in and talks. We have to actually turn people down. That's how many people we have interest. So out of that, we'll recruit volunteers. And we look for quality, not quantity. So we have really good volunteers. Our volunteers are trained on traffic control. We have citizens on patrol. We go out, and if there's a crime, we on the radio, and they call it in.
Right.
We have cars.
Don't engage.
Right, we have white cars. All our staff, civilian staff drive white cars with blue marking, where all our sworn staff drive black cars with the red and blue lights. So that's the distinction between the two of them. Our civilians wear blue pants and gray shirts. So it's very distinctive, so you're gonna know who the cop is and who's not. But our volunteers, we use it very good. We have them in intelligence, we have them in investigations, we have a group of retired police chiefs from all around the country, and we give them our cold cases, and they solve one case. I have a cold case that I put 5 people away off the detective back in 2006 for a homicide, and they got out. So, yeah, that's the one case that got away. But the chiefs are working it, so and they said they found some stuff. So every winter they come back, then we get rid of them. It's pretty neat, and you know, they enjoy it. They enjoy it. So we have a very effective volunteer program.
They save millions and millions of dollars in San
Right.
Bernardino.
Right, so we have a banquet every April. This year is on April 13th, and we host them. And we thank them for the service, but the amount of hours they put in, not just to us, but to the city, it's incredible. I mean, I think last year, it was equivalent to about 9 full-time jobs within the city. So, and that's a program that's really easy to bring into Superior, and it's very, very cheap, very simple, and can be done very easily.
Thank you.
Okay, that's going to be the last group question for Frank. After Joel has his chance, Christian has a chance, we will allow you to mingle and ask any other personal questions you like. So they can stay as long as they like and answer as many questions as you care to ask.
I got my nervous out, so keep it warm. No, thank you. I appreciate it. Good question.
Good to be with you. Good evening. I'm Christian Ensley. I'm the interim chief of police for our department. I have served in that capacity for approximately 1 year. I have lived in Arizona for about 25 years. I live nearby, I live about 20 minutes from here. I've been a policeman for almost 20 years. bulk of that has been working for Canal County departments, some of which were nearby, were small coastal towns. I'm pretty familiar with police work in small towns, specifically in this area. I know most of the officers nearby, worked with them over the last 7 years. And we actually have a few projects going right now to bring us together and work more closely on a regular basis and trying to share resources. One thing I learned early on when I worked for the Haven Police Department was you better know the guy down the road. You better know the guy over at the current police department because you're probably going to need his help. And it's not very comfortable sometimes being by yourself in the middle of the night, going into something that's potentially dangerous. So one of the things I wanted to do when I became the interim chief was to try and bring us closer to our neighbors, and we've done that. And we will continue to do that. Another thing we're focusing on is the level to which we engage with the community and with our police neighbors. In the past, it might not have been very common to see police management as some sort of a community function. We've changed that. I will be at Apache Lead, as will a handful of officers that work for our department. We will also have a booth there, and you will see us. That's one thing we've been trying to change. I always felt like there were a lot of things we should have been involved in that we weren't involved in. So we're trying to expand our footprint, and some of these things were no-brainers, maybe. Our Facebook page, for example, that was kind of a simple thing that was missing for a long time. I always felt we could use that platform to disseminate information about emergencies. And I would point to the snowpocalypse. That was a very appropriate forum for us to use to disseminate information about a local event. We're kind of positioned in a good way because of the intersections of Highway 177 and Highway 60, where people are always asking us, is the highway open? I heard there was a crash at the tunnel. And that happens often. If you live in Surrey long enough, you know a crash at the tunnel could change your plans for the entire day. It might send you an hour or two in the other direction to try and get around the tunnel. So that's something that's worked to our advantage, and we can use that locally or statewide depending on the issue. But simple things that we've been able to do. No secret, we made the news a few times last year, twice, national news. Once was for officer misconduct, and once was for a child homicide investigation. Tricky circumstances for sure. As far as the misconduct goes, we've made some significant changes that put us on the right course. One of our goals for the agency is to stay the course. We feel like we've made the necessary changes. The ship is headed in the right direction. We need to keep it going in that direction. We've also made a lot of changes regarding training. We often host training right here in this room. The city manager and I kind of shared a similar vision with regard to making us a local training hub. If we do some training, whether it's hosted by us or whether we're just providing a facility, we always invite our neighbors. The last few have had officers from across the entire state. We don't have a big budget. We never have. We most likely will never have a big budget, which means we have to create more partnerships. We have to bond more with our neighbors, and we have to collaborate with them on big projects. In January, we had an idea to present a training about career criminals and the violent threat that they pose. And we went to the county attorney. He and I were having a discussion about the appropriate use of the RICO funding. Training came up. He had an idea, I had an idea, and it happened quickly. And that is another one of our current strengths. We have people that will help us do lots of different things. Some of them work for the county attorney's office, some of them work for neighboring police agencies, but we have created a network that we meet with regularly to exchange information about crime trends or crime groups. And we also use that same platform to present training. And we're probably working to another phase where we collaborate with special operations and things like that. But things are going good right now. We have made some very effective changes and we need to stay the course.
Okay, that's, now we're up for questions.
So, Chief,
Yes, sir.
as you know, the town is growing. What if in the next 24 months, our population increases by 500, 600 people?
We can only hope.
What kind of changes would you like to make if you had a bit more resources?
A little more manpower would be nice. At some point, we should probably get out of this facility and create something that is our own facility, our own police department. The police department is ours, but our own police station, I should say. And we're talking about that right now. We have an available piece of land. Of course, funding would be the tricky part there. We would continue to seek grant funding just like we do now. We have enough to get by right now, and even with the existing grants that we have to use grant money to get by. Just because we don't have the money, even with the special contract that we have with Resolution, that's just getting us by. So if you work here because you want to be here and you like it. You're not in this to make big money. That goes for me and everybody else I work for. Most of us are broke, and that's the way it is. I mean, you don't go into public service to make big money, unfortunately. A raise would be a big issue. That needs to be addressed. Most of us can't pay our bills. Goes for me too, but again, I'm here because I want to be here and I enjoy this job. I like working in Superior and I live nearby. And I'm not going anywhere. I've been here for 4.5 years and I'm going to stick it out. It's fun. This is what I do for a living. This is what I've always done. I've been doing this for 20 years now and I'm not leaving. That would only help us. The most curious thing about our department is we are 1/3 paid and 2/3 volunteer. Our reserve program is our strength. We have guys that are lined up to work for us in a reserve capacity. Many of them own businesses. But I think they would rather do police work. If you've ever done any police work, it's a lot of fun. It's hard to get it out of your system. Some of these guys did a little bit, then they started a business, so financially they're obligated to that business. We have one guy that works for us 4 or 5 times a week. He owns a business, he can't afford to leave it. Every spare moment of time he gets, he comes up here and works for us. We have 2 or 3 that fit that category. So 500 or 600 people wouldn't phase us a single bit. Because of that reserve manpower dynamic, and we've already got 3 or 4 lined up that are waiting to get in. I feel fortunate in that regard. I don't know if anybody knows this, but our neighbors are really strapped for manpower. Every single one of them, Globe, Miami, Kearney, Hayden. And I used to work for those guys. And I've been that guy out there in the middle of the night by myself. It's not comfortable. We have made changes to address that. And sometimes we still have that. Sometimes there's no way around it. If somebody's sick, can't make it, family emergency, you are that guy by yourself. For the most part, we've been able to adjust our shifts, and because of the reserves that we have, we've increased our presence and made it safer for ourselves. But I wish 5 or 6 people. I'd rather 2 or 3,000. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen now. There's changes coming, good changes. You know, just like I do, we sit in the same meetings. We would hope that happens.
What would you say, Chief, is the percentage of enforcement versus guardianship? I would think that you have more people coming, say, through 60, who may be speeders, but they're not residents, per se, of Superior. I have my own personal experience, just curious about the ballpark, just out of your imagination, percentages, not necessarily the paper. I was coming out of Circle K, headed up to 507 Hill Street, where we're living, and I neglected from Circle K to turn my headlights on. 60's nice and bright. So as soon as I turned off on Church, there's lights behind me. I'm like, I'm pretty clean citizen, so I'm like, what the heck? So I'm looking at the dash, and sure enough, lights. I turn them right on, roll down the window. It's like, yeah, just check in, you know. I was like, well, thank you. It was a very short exchange, but that was a great impression of guardianship versus enforcement, when anyone could have written me a ticket and gotten their $70 or whatever that infringement is. How do you attack the everyday things that could be revenue, and you see them as in the best interest of this community?
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that, and I'm glad that experience went well for you. We're not the highway patrol, and small things lead to big things. Sure, forgot to turn the headlights on, big deal. Could have been a sign of impairment, maybe a DUI investigation, maybe. So we're glad that went well for you, but my philosophy, and this is kind of passed on to some of my people, use those small things to get the big things. And as far as revenue go, unfortunately, most of that money is so divided, none of it comes back to the town. When you talk about revenue from citations, the court, the state, the judge, all those people have their fingers in that pie.
Sure.
And with specific regard to the Superior Magistrate Court, I don't want to go to the dynamics of it, but what we put out to maintain that court versus what comes in, nothing. It costs more to maintain the court than the revenue coming in. We deal with two courts. We have a justice court and we have a magistrate court. And our criminal cases at the misdemeanor level go into the justice court. In fact, if anybody was at the ribbon cutting yesterday, the justice court has just been remodeled. They were in Kearney briefly. They've come back. If you haven't had a chance, we'll take a look. It's gorgeous. I couldn't believe it. I was surprised. It was a nice building before, but it's very nice now.
Yeah.
But
Is that the best use of funds?
for us,
I mean,
or
to have a luxurious, really sweet place where somebody.
tell anybody, it didn't cost us
Okay,
anything.
good.
Because that's a county facility.
Oh, good.
And we are well poised for many different things, and that is one of them. We have access to a lot of county facilities. The nexus between us and Pinal County is strong, always has been. We contract with them for many different things. The magistrate court is ours, but we don't use it for much. Civil traffic citations and code enforcement, I would say the bulk of what we do, misdemeanor cases especially, those will all go to the justice court, which is that building. I don't want to confuse anybody, but both courts operate out of the same facility. And they've been very good to us. Huge asset for us to have that courthouse here in town.
Yeah, elucidate just a little, because I realized somehow the guardianship percentages or my story working out well. Would you say I should have at least had a license run with something like not headlights? I mean, if it takes a small thing to lead to a big thing, then it's your directive that everything could be suspect, citation or not, and should be looked into despite whatever surface infringement might exist. Am I making sense?
Yeah,
I was kind of looking for a percentage, and then we got off in courthouse remodel.
good point. It's a tool a lot of times, and it's up to the officer, each officer to have discretion.
But like the training that perhaps happened in this room, in regards to what?
Violent criminals, people who kill police officers.
Holds.
Yeah, it was specific to a particular mindset about career criminals. Well, one of many. That one was. We recently partnered with the county attorney's office and did one about domestic violence just a few weeks ago. Of course, that often leads to homicide as well.
Sure.
But as far as traffic goes and traffic stops, I don't give hard, fast directions. My people have freedom to enforce it as they see fit.
Right, that's situational.
But you never know. As far as your license, I assume it was run. Do we know that it wasn't? I don't know enough about your particular circumstances.
That's what I'm asking now, but should we have? It's on me.
Not worried about it right now.
Yeah,
Did you tell me you were local?
it was, never even came up. Because as soon as the lights went on, it was hello, thanks for,
I'm first to tell them I'm local.
yeah, I said.
Yeah,
I
that
have
counts.
I have a lovely
That
evening.
you're not just passing through.
Right.
And on observation, he must have felt that you were sober.
My plates are Texas, so I'm clearly at least out of state by 30 days.
Oh, I thought we had Texas, you automatically go to jail.
Yeah, right, that's what I thought too.
There we go.
That's why I think so.
Check him out when he walks out, guys.
You know, that is one objective, you know, or to determine who you are and what your business is, and if we can determine that this was an accident, it was a mistake, you're not a homicide suspect from somewhere else, and
You're not drunk on.
Right.
Right.
then I think we're done for the most part. I mean, my objective has always been, I have a bit of a background in street crimes.
Right.
I don't want the people to get hurt or killed or
Yeah.
murdered, and if I can determine who those people are, then that's our focus. We need to deal with that.
Right, well, and a lot of it is the news and whatnot, that's why I asked about training, because I wanted to be a policeman when I was little, like, took a different direction for me. But
It's
there's
funny.
there seems to be that wave currently of, departments that are in need of psychological de-escalation training, rather than, here's an order, you didn't go by the order, now we're going straight to cuffs and tasers.
Oh, I think they're going more with individual discretion.
Right, that's.
Some.
Some.
It depends on the
Right,
climate.
depends on the
Exactly.
situation.
And that topic in particular, we have focused on. Last year, every single one of us went to some kind of a de-escalation class.
Right.
And one of us even went to be a train-the-trainer course in that very topic.
Yeah, some of those videos on the internet are the best, where it's a dicey situation and it's turned around to a positive when it could have escalated in a very different direction.
Are you talking about like a canned situation, see how somebody responds to it?
Well, I don't know how the training works.
Well, what if you're talking about
assessing-
some kind of recorded something?
Oh, no, just the sort of, I guess, quote unquote, feel good, police stories where there's, maybe there's someone with it's not a drug offense, or it turns out to be a more of a mental health issue, and the person is, not necessarily capable of understanding a.
You guys seem to be letting the chief off light here.
Yeah.
You should be grilling him on the good question.
Right.
I can speak to that. We have had a few different trainings with Horizon, and they focus in mental health. They recently opened a facility in Florence. I mean, to your point, there are some times where we deal with the mentally ill where we have no choice to make an arrest, and that's a Band-Aid. That is not the problem here. But we have limited resources. We're stuck in a situation where a decision has to be made. We have to eliminate the problem. We have to remove someone from that equation.
Right.
So we now have a Horizon is a, sorry, it's Horizon.
Can you hear me
Horizon.
now?
In Florence. And they've been very good to us. We trained with them here in this building, the same day we did the domestic violence training. And we now have other resources other than forcing the arrest, if you will.
Right.
So things are changing all over the county for the good.
You can see it. You can see a lot of it.
Did you want to, I think you had a question earlier, didn't you? Or has you?
I did. It's kind of almost answered in the fact that I think that you're going towards trying to present yourself as a hero and a helper to someone, the kid seeing you and not going, oh shoot, it's a cop. But, oh hey, hi, I can have a hug, we need some help. Hey, it's good to know you. That's what I hope you're going towards. No, I'm not.
We have some of that.
Here. I want to be here. I don't really
We have some of that. And we have a good relationship with a lot of kids. We've been to Head Start recently. We're planning on going back, partnering with the Youth Coalition. Our friends from the Youth Coalition are here this evening. Good to see you all. To me, that just goes back to the engagement idea and being more involved. Those are things that should happen naturally. If I expect the community to trust me with the police department and trust the people that work for the police department, we need their trust because they will see things that will be part of our investigation. If that doesn't exist, how can I expect them to come forward and say, I saw what happened. I saw him stab her, threw the knife in the bushes, whatever the circumstances may be. If that trust doesn't exist, we can't get that done. And we have been working hard to focus on that. And another unique thing about this community, there are a lot of kids around here that will call me by name. They know me. Their brother or their parents, maybe they got arrested. Maybe they saw me at the school or something. I gave a presentation. Regardless of the circumstances, that's kind of unique. But I take it as a sense of pride that they know us well enough that they can call us by name. And most that fit that category, they're either had a whole lot of police contact or they like us and they're real friendly with us. And both exist. I mean, let's be fair. If we want to talk about this survey, people had negative things to say about us. They probably don't know us, and they probably had a relative that got arrested or might be involved in crime. So we realize that exists. At the same time, I've arrested a lot of people in this community. I'm still friends with them. And you can't, that's the way the job is, you can't let that get in the way. And I wouldn't have a problem driving around, pulling up and saying, hey, how are you? Oh, I'm good, man, I did 3 weeks on that thing the other day. Wow, good luck. If you're in the system a lot, you realize it's a game. They tolerate us, we tolerate them. It's not hatred and rivalry. It's just a system, best in the world. I'm a part of it, and so are they.
¿Y qué porcentaje del tiempo está usando su español?
Depende de las circunstancias. We're a Chicano community. Most of us speak English, but there are a few immigrants, recent immigrants here. They speak Spanish. Many of them know me, I know them. A lot of people just feel more comfortable like that. Depending on how you were raised, spoke it at home, got away from it at school, had stigma attached. I'm good either way if they want to speak to me in Spanish. I love talking Spanish, so I let that be up to whoever I'm dealing with, and I just roll with whatever they want to go. I couldn't give you an exact percentage.
Okay, that'll be the last question for Christian. So again, there's snacks at the back, and thank you for asking questions. You don't have to listen to my tedious PowerPoint. So, help yourselves to snacks and some drinks. Yeah. The average is about 2 years.